Good morning, friends. Welcome to our Friday morning deep dives together. So I'm Debbie Lichter, founder of Freedom Embodied Academy, and today's topic we're talking about how to end food obsession. And the reason why we were talking about this today is because in our Facebook group, the Congruence Collective Facebook group, I posed the question of what is the number one thing that you struggle with? And food obsession was the number one thing that our insiders were struggling with. And I thought, okay, this is for you. This is all for you. And if you are not a part of our Congruence Collective Facebook group, please come and join us. You can go to liveyourlight.today and hop in there and be a part of the insider community of incredible people and incredible support and so much love. And we'd love to see you in there. So as we dive into this topic today, I want to find out from you how food obsession really shows up for you. Because what we're going to be talking about here is why we get into food obsession in the first place. I'm going to go over 4 main reasons why we get into food obsession in the first place, and exactly what to do to get free from the obsession for good. Get free for good. We're going to be talking about that. So definitely stick around if that is stuff that you want to know more about. And as you are tuning in right now, again, I would love to hear how food obsession shows up primarily for you. I can tell you how it showed up for me for years. I pretty much, like, the first thought that I would have in the morning was, what am I going to eat? You know, what am I going to eat? I would open my eyes and it was, what am I going to eat? What can I have? What should I have? And then I'd be eating breakfast and it was like, am I having enough? Am I having too much? And like an hour after I was eating, I was hungry again. And what am I having for lunch? And what time is lunch? And did I not eat enough? Or what should I eat now? I mean, it was just this constant thing. And I spent the first part of the day trying to be good, right? And stick to whatever diet plan and probably under eating and restricting. And then the whole second half of the day was just obsessing about craving something sweet, wanting something caffeinated, wanting something salty, wanting something comforting. Couldn't stop thinking about food, whether I was working or in the middle of talking to somebody. I would start to fantasize now about, okay, well, I can swing by the store, I can pick up that jar of peanut butter, or I've got that, that chocolate in the cupboard and I'm gonna go do this, or, well, who am I kidding? I never had chocolate just waiting in the cupboard. I always had to go buy a new bar. But it was just this constant thought of, what should I eat? What can I have? What can't I have? What are they seeing me have? What are they eating? What should I be doing? What should I eat now that I just had that? What should I not eat now? It was just this constant. It was like a second job. And so if you relate to any of that, I just put I relate in the comments. I want to hear from you about that stuff. And I'd love to go into right now what the main reasons are that have us obsessing with food in the first place. So the first, and I actually wrote these down because I didn't want to forget any of them. So, and this is actually something that I did out of default. I did this out of default, and what I realize is that most people do this out of default because of how much information is out there about what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat, and it makes so much sense to focus on our food. And so the first reason why we obsess is because we think that by figuring out our food, it's going to solve our food problem. It's going to solve our food addiction. It's going to get our food addiction under control. It's going to get this thing handled. And if we can just figure it out. I was just speaking with somebody earlier this week, and she was like, well, I'm doing this and I'm eating that and I'm not doing that anymore, and I tried keto over here and I'm doing this over here, and she's got all this information. And I'm so used to hearing this, and I totally get it. And here's the thing is that this will keep us in constant obsession, trying to figure it out. And it is a broken strategy. I'm going to speak into, hey Lindsay, so good that you're with us. I'm going to speak into just in a little bit what to do instead, but just know for right now that you cannot fix your way into freedom. That focusing on your food, trying to treat food addiction at the surface level of trying to figure out your food and what to have and what to not have, is a broken strategy that is going to keep you in a binge and obsession cycle indefinitely. And definitely an obsession cycle. Because if it's constantly like, okay, I think I'm eating this and I think I'm doing that, then you're constantly monitoring yourself. And that's not freedom. Freedom is not obsessing or thinking about food at all. Freedom is, oh, I'm feeling a tummy growl. I must be hungry. What feels good? What do I feel like eating right now? Oh, I feel like eating this. It's being guided from a much deeper place. We'll talk more about that. We'll talk more about how to get there. But for right now, just know that if, and I want you to listen to these 4 things, to these 4 reasons, and I want you to identify for yourself, do you relate to, which one do you relate the most to, or do you relate to all of them? So if you relate to focusing on food to try and fix or solve your food addiction or food obsession, then just that's number 1 here. That is number 1. Hey, Kylie. So good to see you, love. Okay. And then number two here is, oh my gosh, living in your head and not connected in your body. This goes for every single obsession. There's something that I talk a lot about. We're not going to get into a lot of depth here today around, this idea of compartmentalization conflict. Like that one age or stage, we just disconnected from the fullness of who we are. We disconnected from our authenticity. We disconnected from our bodies. Like we started living up in our heads. We started living by somebody else's rules, whatever we decided about ourselves. Maybe we thought that we weren't enough, or we thought that we were too much, or we just didn't fit, or we weren't the right kind, or whatever it is. We just decided that it wasn't okay to be us. And so we were going to try and live in a way that fit into what others thought we needed to be. And when we did that, we started living up in our heads, trying to figure things out all the time about how do I need to be, and how can I avoid getting hurt, and how can I make sure I get what I need, and how can I make sure that you like me, and how can I make sure I'm enough and I'm validated, and all this stuff. And it completely cut us off from the rest of our bodies. Here's what happens when you are cut off from your body. You are forced to live in constant anxiety and obsession, because think about it. You're not connected to the fullness of who you are. You're not grounded. You don't have this sense of I'm okay. I feel safe in this world, in my body. You're up in your head. You're up in the silo of your mind. And when you're living in the silo of your mind, it is not a healthy place to be, because that's where our thoughts and our fears live. That's where when you're in your head, you cannot be present. You can only be in perception mode. There's constantly a filter between you and the world. And so it's a continuous feeling of being separate, of being isolated, and of being alone. And all of that will just keep you in obsession. It'll force you to stay up in your mind and to rely on your mind and your thoughts and be victimized by your fears. And so just know that, just recognize that about yourself. If you find yourself ever saying, gosh, I'm always up in my head, or if you just know that you're up in your head all the time and you kind of feel not really connected to your body, or it's just this meat suit you're just kind of walking around with, but it's just not really something that you've ever had a real relationship with, then that is number 2, and that will definitely be something that keeps you in major obsession. Number 3, to follow along with that, and to follow along with that whole idea of compartmentalization conflict, is the other thing that happens with compartmentalization conflict is that we get disconnected from our authenticity, right? We get disconnected from our bodies, and we get disconnected from our inner guidance system. This is so important, because when I'm speaking with folks, they're like, I don't trust myself to make healthy choices. And that goes for food, and that goes for relationships, and that goes for all areas of life, right? I'm not living by inner trust. I know deep down that I have this intuition, but I'm not following it. I'm not trusting it. I can't even hear it sometimes. Or if I do hear it, I don't have the confidence to follow it. I'm in constant self-doubt, constant second guessing, and it's just easier to default to what other people need me to do, to people pleasing, to all this stuff. It's easier to default to all of that stuff. If you find yourself in this place, this is number 3 of the top 4 reasons why we obsess around food in the first place. And this one is so, so key, because when you're not connected to the fullness of who you are, when you're not connected to your gut instinct, when you're not connected to your sixth sense intuition, and truly, truly have access to that divine inspiration that's moving through you, that's informing you in each moment, what it does is it has us resorting to needing to rely again on our mind, in our head. And just like we said a moment ago, if you're constantly up in your head relying on only what's going on in your head, then you are a victim to the thoughts, the fears, the insecurities, the feeling of separation, the feeling of isolation, the feeling of I don't belong here, I don't fit in my own body. You are a victim to all of that stuff, and that's where your thinking is coming from. And usually when your thinking is coming from that place and is disconnected from your inner guidance system, then what's going on is that we do two things. We either project and totally put our need to, we look to the outside of like, well, what do you all think? What do you think about me? What do you think my truth is? And we become overly dependent on people needing to like us, on people needing to validate us, on how we look, on how our body looks, on how our bank account looks, on how our relationship status looks, on how the accolades are and our achievements. We get fixated on the external. That's the first thing that happens. We get completely dependent on all that stuff. The second thing that happens is that we start to control. We start to control what goes on the outside, like food, right? Because the idea is if I can get things out here to look a certain way, then I can feel okay on the inside. Then I can have a sense of ease and comfort and peace on the inside. And so I need for you to do things this way. I need for my food to look this way. I need for everything and everyone to do it a certain way so I can be okay. And all that does is it perpetually keeps us living outside of ourselves, living up in our head, and not connected to our inner guidance. So again, hey Vang, hey Ian, so good to see you. Yes, totally, Lindsay, like so disconnected, living up in my head, not okay to be me, it like completely. This is exactly the stuff that we're talking about. So again, that's number 3 here. That is number 3 of the top 4 reasons why we obsess about food. And in just a moment, we're going to be getting into what to do instead. For right now, I just want you to listen up and just see which ones of these you relate to. You can put 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the comments, or you can just like Lindsay, you can just kind of share a little bit more about what you're relating to about all of this. Number 4, this is so great, big, huge. Number 4 is that we obsess. Listen closely to this. We obsess because it is a distraction pattern that distracts us from whatever is really going on deeper down. See, obsession, as uncomfortable as it is, and as horrible as it is, and as much as we say we don't want to be obsessing on it all the time, we don't need thinking about food all the time, I guarantee you that the obsession is a default strategy to try and gain a little bit of a distraction or a numbing out, some sort of ease and comfort so that you don't have to deal with what is actually going on underneath all of that. Because we have a sense, we've got some stuff underneath that's uncomfortable. Anxiety and tension and fear and resentment and insecurity and I'm not enough and guilt and remorse and grief and regret. There is so much stuff that's going on internally. I don't belong in this life. I don't belong in my body. I feel alone. There's so much stuff that creates this internal turbulence, this internal chaos of discomfort and dis-ease. And I can tell you right now, I can promise you that it is a heck of a lot more easy to fixate on what you should eat and what you can have and what you can't have than to really sit with how inadequate you feel, than to really sit with how alone you feel, than to really sit with, I don't know that I belong in this body or in this life or in this family, right? There is some really painful stuff that we don't want to look at. And so we go to obsession, whether it's food, whether it's people, whether it's what you think about me. We go to obsession as a source of distraction. And so again, that's number 4 of the top 4 reasons why I see people going to food obsession. Hey, Patty, so glad that you are here and tuning in. So again, want to know which one of those four you are relating to, or if you're relating to all of them, you can say all of the above. And now let's shift into what to do instead to stop the food obsession for good. And this is actually possible for you. This is possible for you. You know, for me, freedom happens in retrospect. It's not something that I'm like aware of. You know, it's like when you have a cold and then somehow you're just better. You know, some stuff happens in between, right? You know, you take some medicine, or you know, you got to do some stuff. You don't just like, oh, snap your fingers and you're better. But like one day you're just not sniffling anymore. You're just noticing that, wow, you just slept the night through. You don't have like that, you know, like those tired eyes and that runny nose, and like somehow you're just well, but you didn't really track like the moment that happened. You just sort of notice in retrospect, like, oh, I'm just feeling, I've got my energy back now. I'm feeling different now. It's similar to the experience of really getting free of the obsession and getting free of the addiction, in that it's like it happens in retrospect. I remember the first time that I had a tummy growl in the middle of the day. And I remember being like, oh my God, and looking at my watch. I think at the time I still wore watches, and looking at my watch and being like, oh my gosh, it is lunchtime and I haven't thought about food since breakfast. Like, I can't even tell you, it was a celebration like you can't even believe. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I just got so much done over the last few hours, because I wasn't like, my mind wasn't just like shifting every few seconds to what should I eat and what can I have and what can't I have, and you know, like, it was incredible. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is new. Or being in a conversation with someone and like, newsflash, actually being able to be in the conversation with them, right? Like, be able to track the conversation with them and not like have that moment where I sort of fantasize and go off somewhere else. And I'm thinking about, you know, swinging by the store and picking up the jar of peanut butter on the way home. And when are they going to stop talking? And, you know, and then coming back in the conversation and being like, yeah, totally, having no idea what we're talking about because I wasn't there. Like, to actually be in a conversation, to be able to go deeper with people, to be able to truly be present and listen. It was a game changer for me. So when I talk about being free of the obsession for good, I'm talking about that you can actually have a life where you are present, you are connected with yourself and others, you're able to focus, you have the energy, you have the brain power, and you're able to actually go out and do things in your life that before you didn't have the focus or the energy or the confidence to do. So yes, absolutely. Get into the trap of working, and then at 3 and 4 p.m. overeating. This is totally, so like, that was exactly, I had this like afternoon thing. Who else gets the afternoon thing? For me, I like had to go get some caffeine, had to get caffeine in the afternoon, and then wanted something sweet. That was my big thing. And it was really dangerous because my store was, my place of work was like walking distance to Trader Joe's. And I knew exactly the chocolate that I wanted to get. So I would go over there and just have that. And so that was kind of a thing. Hey, Dylan. Yes, so here is the thing. Let's dive into these 4 things to do instead. Okay, so number 1, you know, we talked about this broken strategy of trying to fix your food problem, and it just doesn't work. And so the first thing that you need to do if you really, really want to get free of your food obsession is you've got to get clarity about what the real problem is. You have got to get clarity about the real body, mind, and spirit problem. Because until you understand what actually happens in your body once you start to eat, and I'm not just talking about brain chemistry and, you know, like diet and exercise. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what goes on in your body after you start to put food in your system. Why do you intend to only have a bite, and then after that food gets in your body, you just don't want to stop? What's actually going on there? It is so important for you to get clarity on that piece. It is so important for you to get clarity on why is it that I can wake up in the morning saying today's going to be different, and then by, you know, Ian, right, 3 or 4 in the afternoon, or by, you know, sometime later that day, I'm right back in the same pattern. I swore to myself it was going to be different tomorrow. I swore myself it was going to be different this morning. and I'm already right back at what is going on in my mind that I can't seem to connect A to B? What is going on in my mind that there's some kind of justification or rationalization that goes on that has me going back into this pattern? What is my problem? And then deeper to that, what is going on spiritually? What's happening that is driving this whole bus or driving this whole ship or driving this whole thing in the first place? What is really going on? Until you get that, I'm telling you, until you get that, you're going to be continuing to do what I was continuing to do for so many years and what I see so many people doing who stay stuck. You will continue to try to fix a problem that you don't fully understand with an incomplete solution or an insufficient solution or a broken strategy, and it's going to have you perpetually frustrated, feeling like there's something wrong with you, when really there's nothing wrong with you. It's that there's something wrong with your approach. There's something wrong with the strategy. And so clarity, number one thing, is the first thing that you need to do. Okay, number two thing is, we talked about being disconnected in your body and living up in your head. Number two is that you have to reconnect in your body. In the Freedom Embodied Academy. Well, so in the Freedom Embodied Academy, we actually like the ladies were starting in the 2019 class is starting right now, and we're actually starting with Gateway 1, which goes into that whole clarity piece, which goes into a whole 6-step self-diagnostic process, so that the ladies can really uncover their own truth. Starting up next month. It's so exciting. I'm so excited if you were in the academy. I'm so excited for you. If you're not in the academy and you want to be in the academy, then just reach out to me, because like, we can still get you in. We haven't started this Gateway 1 yet, and I want you to have this. I want you to have this. If you want to do that, just get on my schedule, freefromfood.today, freefromfood.today. Grab a free 15-minute spot with me, and let's dive deeper and really get laser focused on what it's going to take for you to get on your path of freedom. So the clarity piece, as we do in Gateway 1, we also do this other thing that I'm going to talk about right now as it relates to connecting into your body, and that is body awareness building. Here's the thing, is that even if you exercise, I was a Pilates teacher. I was teaching mind body fitness, and I was never in my body. I was always up in my head analyzing my body or hating on it or judging it or worrying what you thought about it. In order for us to actually learn how to be in our bodies, there is actual practices. There is a way that we need to learn how to sense ourselves, to sense what we feel, to get grounded in ourselves, to get present inside of ourselves, to start to feel not just feelings but sensations inside. There is an actual physiological aspect of coming home to ourselves that oftentimes we don't focus on, and is oftentimes not focused on even in a spiritual context, right? Spiritually, sometimes we talk about becoming one with ourselves, becoming one with spirit, but we don't really talk about really coming home inside of our flesh, inside of our bodies, and feeling deeply comfortable inside of our own skin. And this is a huge piece of getting out of obsession and really just feeling comfortable being you. And so getting connected inside of your body is such an important thing to do. If you need some support around that, reach out to me. I love helping people with this because I've got so many support tools here to help you with that stuff. And that's a really important thing. So if you know that you have a tendency to default up into your head, then this could be an area that would be really powerful for you. And also, if you find yourself kind of like, it's much easier for you to default to not just being in your head and being in analysis, but it's much easier to default to being in kind of like spiritual land, or being in like kind of etheric sort of dreamland, or kind of feeling spacey or ungrounded or that kind of stuff. If you default to that stuff, then this is going to be a huge tool for you. So yes, absolutely. Yes. So I think that we have a little confusion here in the messages, so I'm not quite sure what you're wanting here. But so number three is to regain access to your inner guidance system. This is so important. So regaining access to your inner guidance system, this is something that, again, is, we get told all the time, I'm supposed to trust myself. All the answers are within. But what I find more oftentimes than not is that we actually are lacking access to that inner guidance. Your inner guidance system is a combination of your gut instinct and your sixth sense intuition and divine inspiration. And those three things inside you form like a trifecta of trust. And when you have all that stuff going on here, then it allows for you to sense what your truth is instead of trying to figure it out up here. It allows you to just land, and then there's multiple aspects of your inner guidance that are all working together to inform you in each moment of when to eat, of what to eat, of when to stop. And this is how you start to get intuitively guided. See, if you're up in your head and you're disconnected from your body, I can tell you right now that even sensing if you're truly hungry or not, we get cut off from that sense. That is a sense. There's something that I go deep into in the academy, the different types of senses. I don't just mean your five senses. Your five senses all fall into a category called exteroception. And then you have like proprioception, which is sensing where you are in space. And then there's something deeper that's called interoception. That's sensing what's going on in your internal world, like sensing your own heartbeat, sensing when you're thirsty, sensing when you're hungry, sensing those gut feelings going on inside, sensing the sensations going on inside of you. And when you have that stuff, when you're actually able to connect into that stuff, that's when you can just feel at a deep level, that food feels like something that is in alignment with me. But it's not just at a gut level, that you have an intuitive sense about all of that. About, I'm feeling like I just need something a little bit more grounding. This is how it works for me, honestly. Like, I'm like, I feel like I just need something that's got some healthy fat in it. I feel like I need to be grounded right now. Or I'm really feeling like I need something lighter right now. Like the weather affects how I eat, my activity level affects how I eat. It's much more organic versus like, this is my set diet. This is the set thing that I'm supposed to eat. It's not like that at all. And then there's a deeper intuitive guidance that comes from divine inspiration. And that's aligning me with the highest calling. That's keeping me close to divine will. That is allowing for me to stay in this place of having the sense of ease and comfort inside. And that is so, so important, because if you're having an internal sense of ease and comfort inside of yourself, then you're not stress eating, right? Then you're not trying to distract or numb or any of these other things. And this is what brings me to number 4, which is so critical and so, so important. Number four is that what we need to do is we need to get free of the things that are blocking us and weighing heavy on us inside. These things that are weighing on us, that are blocking us, that are heavy inside, the blame and the shame and the resentment and the guilt and the remorse and the fear and the regret and the grief and all the stuff and the anxiety and the tension and the inadequacy and the feeling of being alone and all of this stuff. We need to get free from this stuff, because when we get free from this, when we get free and clear, this is, and when I say get free of this stuff, I don't mean go and spend years in therapy trying to fix yourself and trying to work on yourself and all this stuff. I'm talking about moving through a deep spiritual process whereby you get free and clear of this stuff. This is what we do in the Academy. You actually get free and clear of that stuff, because you can imagine you've got like a brick on your heart with all these things that are weighing heavy on you. And what that stuff does is it actually blocks your access to your inner guidance. So you have this inner guidance, but what blocks us is the stuff that's weighing heavy on us. When you get free and clear of those things and you have that sense of internal lightness, you come back to the sense of ease and comfort inside of yourself. And I can tell you right now that when you have an authentic sense of ease and comfort and lightness inside of yourself, again, you don't need to distract. You don't need to numb. The whole need to go and obsess or overeat or have something sweet or have a snack or feel a craving, all of that goes away. You don't need it anymore. And this is why ultimately, if you truly, truly want to have the freedom from the obsession, from the addiction, if you truly just want to come back to a place of internal ease and comfort, a sense of lightness, a sense of I know I'm okay no matter what, a sense of I feel connected inside of my body, I feel connected to who I am, I feel connected to you. If these are the things that you are wanting, then I promise you the key is to get free from the things that are blocking you from all of that. Because your natural state is a state of joy. Your natural state is one of connection. Your natural state is one of love and to shine your light and to be authentically you. That is you. Think about like your inner 3-year-old just wants to express and have fun and play and create and explore. Right? That is us at our truest essence, and that is there for you. And if you're not experiencing right now, it just is because it's not that it has gone away forever. It's just because there is stuff that is obscuring it. And when you get free, not only do you get free of the obsession and the addiction and all this stuff, but you get free to come home to you, to the real, true, authentic you. And that is the best gift in the entire world. So, I hope you got a lot of juicy tools. If you were just tuning in right now, again, we've been talking about the 4 main reasons why we obsess in the first place and the 4 things to do instead in order to get free from that obsession for good. So if you related and resonated with this, I would love to hear a comment about what you related to the most. And again, if you are not a part of the Academy and you really know that it is your time to get connected in your body, to get that clarity about what your real problem is, to come back to your inner guidance, get free of the things that are blocking you so you can truly come home to you, that is the journey. That is what we do. If you know that that is your journey too, please schedule some time with me. Head over to freefromfood.today and grab a spot on my calendar. It would be such an absolute honor to connect with you and to help you have exactly that. So thank you again for tuning in today. It was so beautiful to see you, and I will connect more with you very soon. Now, bye-bye. Mwah.